Place a head-to-head bet on select US basketball games this week, and if your team is up by 12 plus points at halftime, get paid as a winner, even if they go on to lose. Download the BetYou app and bet it out. First 250 staked. Head-to-head single bets only. T's and C's apply. R18. Bet responsibly.
The pride, passion, and pageantry of college football lives here. This is the Paul Finebaum Show, Hour 3 podcast.
This might be college football heaven.
And we are excited to say hello to Sierra Burdick, the former Lady Vol, and that's only part of the story. I know I'm burying the lead here, but I am... my eyes are on that bronze right there. Let us see that.
Here we go. Not too shabby.
That's an Olympic medal for those of you who don't understand things like... Pull it up one more time. I just want to get a close-up. So
there we go.
Randy's going to try to put that on social media and make some money. First of all, the great part of that, Sierra, is that of all the things you've done, and obviously you've had a really distinguished career, you will never outrun being an Olympic medalist. Talk about that experience, first of all.
Definitely an opportunity of a lifetime. Not even in my wildest dreams did I think I would be playing in the Olympics. And so when 3-on-3 came on the scene, and I started playing in 2014, and it became an Olympic sport in 2020, I kind of had a little hope that, hey, maybe I have a shot at making the Olympics in 2024, and it happened. And it still is kind of surreal, but man, what a blessing. Well,
it is something. I've never done anything that will carry with me the rest of my life, but I'm glad to know someone who will. You played for Pat Summitt, and I've been around long enough to remember, because I was a student at UT when she was a gold medalist in the 76 Montreal games, and she was also the head coach at the time. It was really weird to see her playing as an athlete and then being the coach. But let's go back, because so many people, we can talk all day about the influence that Coach Summitt still has on the game.
100%. And, I think a lot of us wish she was still around to see where women's basketball is today, because she'd just be grinning from ear to ear to see the growth that it's made. I think she was a trailblazer for pushing women's sports and women's rights and making sure we had the same opportunities as our male counterparts. And just to see where the game is now, it's incredible. And I know she laid the groundwork and the foundation for that. And to be a part of her legacy and the sisterhood that she built, it's one of my greatest honors. And I couldn't have pictured myself playing at a different university under a different coach.
Yeah, and certainly you played for her toward the very end of her career. But you mentioned the sisterhood, and having been there when she was just starting out, and it's always, you can be anywhere in the world, as I know you have been, and that's the conversation piece. Discuss just what it's like to have been able to meet, network, and get to know so many young women who were not all that young anymore, who played for Coach Summitt.
Yeah, I think it's really neat. I talk about it all the time, how it doesn't matter if you played in like the early 90s, the early 2000s, the 80s. Like, when you come back to Tennessee, we're all sisters, whether we played together or not. So, I mean, I know I can always call Candace or Tamika or Shamiqua, and they'll answer the phone. I can always lean on them for guidance, for support, and I think that's a really unique circle to be a part of. And I think we carry Pat's legacy with us with pride.
And it's fascinating. There's a group now, and I know you are acutely aware of this, because everyone's involved, trying to bring her name into what is now one of the hottest sports going, and that's the WNBA.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, if anybody ownership group can get it, it's that ownership group. I mean, when you mention Peyton Manning and Candace Parker, that's royalty in Tennessee. So I'm really hoping that, we can bring the summit to Nashville. I think Nashville would be a great home for a WNBA team. I think the state of Tennessee loves basketball. I think they especially love women's basketball. I think a W team will really thrive there. So I'm hoping, I know Cleveland just got to 2028, so I'm looking for maybe 2029, hoping for that.
I know you also played with Andrea Carter, and I remember when she first started here, she was like anybody else, just trying to understand and learn how to do this industry, and now.
Now she's a rock star.
I mean, I don't even know if that describes it. What was she like back in the day?
I've known Dre Baby for so long. I mean, she committed to Tennessee pretty early. I want to say she might have committed her freshman year in high school, and she just loved Tennessee from the get-go. And, you know, she was there almost every weekend, you would think, whether she was playing or not. Even as a recruit, you know, she was on campus all the time. But, you know, there's no surprise that she is where she's at right now, just because of her work ethic, her dedication, her commitment to her craft, her resiliency, her feistiness. Like, that was Dre Baby then, and it's definitely, you see maybe a more mature Dre Baby on air, but it's like that work that got her there to where she is now, to where she's thriving in the spotlight. She's doing incredible things, and she's one of the best on air right now.
Yeah, no, she's been just fun to watch. Let's talk a little bit about the ascension of this sport, because I mean, it has been big for a while, but even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, as the sport was really breaking out into the ether, I don't know if anybody could have predicted where we are right now. Describe when you were playing versus as this thing has continued to explode.
You know, I think at Tennessee we were in a unique position that we were still getting about 10,000 to 14,000 at our home games.
Wow.
Because Knoxville, they loved Pat, they loved women's basketball. I realized that wasn't normal. Like, we were in a unique situation. So now for arenas to be, you know, packing out and bringing in 10,000 to 20,000 people every single game, every single night, like, that is super exciting for the game. You know, we're seeing record numbers. And it definitely was not like that, you know, in the W when I was playing. You know, my rookie salary was $40,000. So I'm happy to see players starting to get compensated for their worth. I think we still have a ways to go, but I'm optimistic that we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, it was just interesting, and not to dig up old bones, but how for all of the for all the hot air the NCAA would spew out, they really didn't back it up with reality. It took a major movement for them to finally catch on.
Yeah, I think it was Sedona Prince who pointed out the differences in the NCAA tournament and the resources that were available to the men compared to the women. And, you know, social media can be your best friend when it comes to movements, and I think we really saw that. And obviously you have players like Caitlin Clark who are generational players that, you know, bring so much attention to the game. But then, you know, you've got Asia as well before Caitlin. So I think we've just had some incredible players and some players that aren't afraid to speak up and stand up for the betterment of the game.
Sierra, help me with this, because somebody asked me this the other day. I think they were talking about the very top of the SEC, and they said, well, who do you like to emerge? And quite frankly, it used to be easy. You say South Carolina every time, or in your day, Tennessee. But it is a perplexing question right now, and I'm going to lean heavily on you to help me answer it. What is going on in the SEC right now?
I mean, it's one of the, if not the most competitive league in the country. It's definitely up there with the top. It is a dogfight every single night. It was a dogfight every single night when I was playing in the SEC. And now the talent just continues to get better, continues to grow. We're adding teams to the SEC that weren't there when I was playing. Every single night you have to bring your A game. All I can say is the SEC tournament is going to be really exciting. May the best team come out. I hope it's my Tennessee Lady Vols. I'm pulling for them. So I would love to see them, you know, cut down that net at the SEC tournament. I don't think it's been done since my senior year in 2015. So I would love for them to have that opportunity, especially in Kim's first year.
It all starts next week. Sierra, thanks. It was great to meet you.
Thank you, Paul.
If you don't mind, I'm going to...
Yeah, here you go. You can actually take it.
I'm going to borrow that medal from you. This is pretty cool. Congratulations again.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate you.
So good to meet you. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
And we are back, and let's head back to the Zoom. The handsome one is up next. Joe, good afternoon to you.
Oh, Tyro, Paul Finebaum, how's it going, my man?
We are doing great.
Hey, first off, I got to say, I went to Piggly Wiggly today, talked to Mr. Jason Benson, the one who runs the place right there, and he said to give you his regards, and he is coming to the SEC tournaments here in a couple of weeks in Nashville, and he's going to try to holler at you.
So what did I miss for lunch today?
Today I had fried catfish, baked beans, and hush puppies.
Oh my goodness!
And man, I got a bowl of their potato soup, and it's off the first time I ever tried their potato soup, and it's off the chain. I mean, it's great. I gobbled it down in about 2 minutes, so it's good, Paul.
That's a good lunch.
I want to talk, but there's a couple. I do like what Heather Dinich. You know what? I always think it should be the top 4 teams anyway, not conference, the top 4 conference champs to get the automatic buys. I always think it should be the top 4 regardless anyway. I don't know how the commissioners look at that, but I think it should be the top 4 anyway. But I want to say this about I-Man. I-Man, and I love you, brother, and we all love you, and we're praying for you. And Jim, I'm praying for him too. And you've had some good calls, and Jim does need prayer because you can't go through hating. Normally, if somebody has that much hate, something very wrong is going on in their life, and they're just lashing out at anybody because it ain't just I-Man. I mean, what he said to I-Man is almost. I know you're supposed to forgive anything, but that's almost unforgivable. But Jim's hatred is toward everybody. I mean, he'll talk good to you one time, and then he'll blow your phone. He don't know my phone number. Thank the good Lord for that. He don't know my phone number, and I don't want nobody to give him my phone number because I have no need in talking to him none whatsoever. But I do offer this to him. Jim, you're in my prayers, and there's a lot of people praying for you too because you need it. Because right now, what you're showing is in this heart is what you're revealing. What comes out of the mouth reveals what's in the heart. And I used to be, I would come on, Paul. You know this. I didn't think there was any team but Alabama. If you mentioned another team, I just cuss them, and I've totally changed that. I don't. Of course, I was calling in drunk then. I don't drink now. So I mean, I'm a totally different man, and it's because you let God in your heart. Because when you do that, you can. It's okay to fun, and make fun of people, joke around. But when it's life or death, I don't care if you're Auburn fan. I don't care if you're a fan of Notre Dame. I'll be on my knees praying for you because that's what's important. Sports is good. It gives us a very good pastime, and no matter what you're going through, and you bring it out more than anybody does, Paul Finebaum. And I want you to know that we all appreciate you, and we all love you. And I wouldn't mind being your neighbor because you might not like it because you'd probably be seeing me every day, but I man.
But by the way, I would love to have you as my neighbor. And the main reason, you know what it is? So you bring me that lunch from the pig.
That's right. I like cutting grass too. I'll cut your yard, Paul, and wouldn't charge you a dime. And we'll get Brandon to, come pressure wash his house driveway. And hey, we'll look after you when you get back here in Alabama. We're going to take care of you. So
listen,
don't worry about that.
We're gonna do the show in the front yard one day. Everybody's coming over.
That's right. And Piggly Wiggly catered. Do the catering. So
you got it.
Paul, I'll let you go for now. But man, I've listened to the show, and I just want you to say, man, we love you too, because without you, we wouldn't even have a voice. But right now, what I'm feeling today is love, and today is the day to just love each other. Don't be throwing haymakers at each other because there's a time and place for it. But right now, we got a brother that's and legend too. I'm praying for him too. But when you got brothers in crisis and in needs, it's not time for throwing punches and haymakers. It's time to be praying and love each other. And that's pretty much all I've got to say, Paul. But I appreciate you, man. And I'll try to get back in with you tomorrow. And I'll keep watching the rest of the show. And roll tide roll, my man. Thank you,
You got
Paul.
it. Thank you very much. What a tremendous call that was. Let's go to Michael up next in Colorado. Hello, Michael.
Paul?
Try that one more time. Michael, are you there?
Yes, sir, Paul. How are you?
We are doing great. Welcome in.
Me and my boy are riding down the road. We live near Durango.
Okay, tell us what. Oh my goodness, here we go.
My boy, he's been listening to the whole saga with John from St. Louis, and was wondering if we could make the court date. Do you know when that is?
Well, it was supposed to be yesterday, I believe.
Oh man, that stinks. Well,
but we're not positive of that.
Well, Well, we live about 90 miles from there. I live on the Continental Divide.
Okay.
That's the closest big town we have, so I'm there a pretty good bit. So
Well, we
interested
heard
in
from
that.
John on Monday, so we haven't heard from him since. So he's either being incarcerated or he just simply hasn't called us.
Well, maybe I can go bail him out if he needs it.
Well, Michael, listen, money is tight. I'm not sure I'd recommend that.
The other side of it is, man, in Durango, it's probably pretty hard to get arrested. You know?
I would think so. I mean, it sounds like a pretty friendly town.
Yeah, it really is. It's tourists, you know. It's a fun place to be, and when I heard he got arrested there, it just kind of blew my mind. The cops here don't want to arrest people, you know. They're here for fun.
Yeah, no, I would think so. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll continue to try to get the answer. You and your son be safe out there on the roads. Allow us to continue, and Will is up next in Georgia. Hey, Will.
Hey, Paul. I can't believe I'm actually talking to you.
Thank
Hope
you.
you're doing well today.
We're doing great. Thank you.
Well, first, before I get to the reason I'm calling, I just want to say that, you know, I'll say a prayer for I-Man and for Legend. I've been listening to your show for about 6-7 years now, and I love hearing both of them, you know, with their crazy calls sometimes. So we'll say a prayer for them. I hope they're doing well. But the reason I'm calling, Paul, is after Brad from Macon, which I was born and raised in Macon, called recently, just a few minutes ago, I went onto YouTube to try and see where his film breakdowns are of college football,
Right.
and I couldn't find them. But I've been watching Brooks Austin for probably 3.5 years now, and he's pretty spot on with his analysis.
He's good.
Of college football players and college football. I mean, he's a good guy. I mean, he kind of knows his business. And I think that a lot of times, and I'm old enough, I'm 53, so I remember when Mike Bobo had the first go-round under Mark Richt. And I think that a lot of this is leftover, you know, kind of angst or whatever you want to call it from Georgia fans from when Mike Bobo was there the first time. And I think that at the end of the day, Georgia fans need to understand, Kirby Smart's won 2 out of the last 4 national championships. Shouldn't we kind of trust his judgment on this, Paul?
Well, I think as a fan, that certainly would be good. As a pundit, we tend to look at things a little more broadly. But
well, I mean, I would agree, Paul. Look, I'm not saying, look, you called in because I actually heard the interview with you and on 680 The Fan in Atlanta the other day, and that's fine. I mean, you get paid to have those kind of takes and kind of get the conversation going. I got no problem with that. But at the end of the day, I think that maybe Brad needs to understand that if you're saying that all of a sudden Kirby Smart has decided that, well, I'm going to keep Mike Bobo as the OC, regardless of whether or not that's best for the football program. I mean, isn't that kind of like antithesis of what Kirby Smart's been about since he took that job?
It is, but Will, and I make no bones about the fact that I think Kirby Smart is the best coach in the country, and I am a monster fan of his, and I rarely, if ever, have criticized him. But I think at some point it is very difficult when you have employed one of your closest friends, your college roommate, everybody knows. It makes it more tenuous. I have seen this before, even among I mean, by the way, better coaches than Kirby Smart. And by the way, there's only a handful of those. I've seen it with Nick Saban as well, where sometimes you have a blind eye. And I don't think there's a person in America who can say with a straight face that you're completely objective about every single person you know. And I think when it involves your best friend, it makes it even more difficult. I said what I did because I believe that. Do I have the expertise that Brooks has? Absolutely not. I don't study Georgia film every morning and every afternoon and every evening. I depend on people like Brooks to do that so I can get on with my life. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. We are coming back with more after this.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Brandon is up next.
Paul, what's going on? Pressure washing, brother.
Hey there, brother.
Paul, we got a countdown to the caller bracket for tomorrow. How's that working?
We're going to get an update on Friday.
Update? All right. I got my days mixed up, Paul. Day is Wednesday, and I'm thinking it's Thursday. This call may be lengthy, Paul, but I'm going to try to hurry it up. Loved your Zoom call there, Handsome Joe. I listened to the show yesterday, Paul, but hadn't had the chance to call in. The good Lord has been blessing us with this pretty weather, and, I've been wide open with the pressure washing. But I got some things to address, Paul. First, I don't like the spring game ordeal everyone's starting to do. I feel like we're getting softer and softer. The spring game, to me, kind of brings some hope that, college football is inching closer and closer. You're halfway through it. But, hey, what do I know? I'm just a pressure-washing Finebaum caller, Paul. But I wanted to touch base on this, Paul. Jim had been reaching out to me. He's been tagging me in things on Twitter. And last summer, Jim had called me. And, hey, you know me, I'm a new caller. I'm pretty stoked that, hey, I'm on the phone with Jim from Tuscaloosa. It's no different than when I was able to talk with Legend or you for the first time, Paul. I called and told all my buddies about it, and we drank a cold beer. But I'm getting off track here, Paul. Jim, I spoke with you back and forth on Twitter, and when I spoke with you on the phone, I know you had some issues, man, but I overlooked that because, hell, I was on the phone with one of the popular callers of the Finebaum Show. I was the rookie on the show and still am a rookie. Now, if this is true, and I don't see why my brother I-Man would lie, why would we have any reason to lie? But after hearing what you said about I-Man, and I've forgotten about what he said about you, Paul, you've got to be a sick, miserable individual. And I don't want to be a part of that, Jim, if that's true. My grandfather raised me, Paul, and I lost him in 2018 to cancer. So that's a sensitive subject to me. Now, I may call into this show and raise hell, but I would never take it to that level. So I want to send my prayers out to you, my brother I-Man. And, Paul, I'm going to end this call on a good note, and I haven't said this since I first started calling in, but I don't care about nothing but the pressure washing, the Tide, and the Paul Finebaum Show. Roll Tide, Paul.
Thank you very much. Really good to hear from you. Johnny B. is up next.
Thanks for taking my call, Paul. Brandon, that's a hell of a call, buddy. I like that. You're a good dude. I like talking to you myself, and he did make a great point. When you first talk to Jim, you think it's an honor, and then as it grows on, you realize what's happening. And, I've actually come up with a great blackmail idea. We just come up with this list and demands, and if somebody don't do it, we say, okay, we're going to give Jim your telephone number. Then you're going to go through the hell of 20 calls an hour, all day, all night, everything, listen to that maniac rant. Don't you think that'd be a hell of a punishment, Paul?
That would be. You're right.
Oh, me. They was talking, you had a guest on earlier talking about the gambling issue, and then I tagged your ex in an article that just broke about him using this Hawkeye measurement system for first downs. And I'm all for anything that takes it out of the ref's hands. And it really needs to be in all sports. But, I'm glad to see that, they're getting away from it because there's no sense in the controversy of a first down. And we saw it in several close games this year. And then on to Brad, I think, didn't he say he couldn't hear you while he was calling?
Yeah, he was. There was some communication issue.
I was just thinking it'd be great if we couldn't have heard him either. That would have made it so much better.
Oh, my.
Oh, and
I walked into that door, didn't I?
Otis, my brother from Texas. That was a funny thing. You're talking about Jim being the devil, and now we've almost got hell figured out. Jim's the devil, and the punishment is constant squeal calls. Thanks for taking my call. Y'all have a good day.
John is up next in Tuscaloosa. Hello, John.
Hey, Paul. How are you today?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Hey, I called you a couple of years ago. I tried to get through last Wednesday. I couldn't get you, but thought I'd try again today and got through. So last Wednesday was the 80th anniversary of our Marines landing on Iwo Jima.
Oh, wow.
During World War II. My dad was one of those Marines. He was captain of an ordnance unit. He was the oldest member of the unit. He was 23 years old. And you heard this right. He had two 16-year-olds and one 15-year-old under his command. They would either forge their parents' signature or their signature would sign on their behalf. I asked Dad why would a teenager want to serve, and Dad just would always said that's just what everybody wanted to do. Dad also played football at University of Alabama. He was a sophomore All-American in 1942. He actually got sworn into the Marines at the final home game of 1942. Played the 1943 season at the University of North Carolina. Then obviously went over and trained in Hawaii and landed on Iwo Jima on what happened to be his 23rd birthday. Came back and played another year at Alabama in 1946. Why do I say all this? I'm telling you this, Paul, because I'll never forget something Dad told me, especially with all the bickering going on right now, not only on your show, but, across the country. I'm sure you're familiar with the famous photo of the flag race.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, a lot of people don't know that was only the third or fourth day of the battle, and that was staged. My dad was actually down by the airstrip and defusing some of our bombs that we had dropped that hadn't exploded, and also working through some landmines. So he didn't see the staged flag at the top of Mount Surabati, but later they put a permanent flag on a higher pole so that the whole island could see it. This was the fifth or sixth day of what ended up being a 34-day battle. And I say all that to say this. I'll never forget what my dad told me. He said, when we saw that flag, our flag, go up on that pole, he said, I don't know what it was, but I do know this. We knew we were going to win that battle, and we knew we were going to win that war. And, today we spend a lot of time, complaining about this and that, but we live in the greatest country on the face of the earth. We've got a lot to be proud of. Never forget that. May we never forget those that served before us so that we have the freedoms that we have today. Unfortunately, Paul, I think the last Iwo Jima veteran has passed. So it's up to folks like me to, try to keep the story alive and just let others know that there's 13 and 14-year-old kids out there several years ago that were willing to fight for the freedoms that we have today.
John, I can never thank you because, and I'm not going to say anything because I can't top what you said, but every time you bring this up, it comes home to me because I've told you this before, but my father was in the Philippines under MacArthur during all that, and what happened at Iwo Jima really was as critical as any battle in the history of this country. We always talk about D-Day, but had that gone the other way, there's no telling what would have happened in that theater.
Well, I appreciate that, and I've told you this before. Your dad was a member of the greatest generation, and he certainly was a hero as well. As my dad often liked to say, he never considered himself to be a hero. He just said we landed on an island in a battle that later a famous photograph was taken. But Dad always considered all who served heroes, especially those that lost, life or limb. And it's just something I think when we want to bicker back and forth and about this or that, just be thankful for what we have in this great country. And the other thing he would say that I'm sure your dad would as well is that never be ashamed to be proud of this country. Never be ashamed to be proud of our flag.
John, we are all in your debt for reminding us, and I don't know how many more years we'll do this, but I hope you'll continue to call in.
God bless you, Paul.
Thank you. God bless you, John. Thank you. That is incredible. What a poignant, moving call. And we'll.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
And we are back. Let's continue. John is up next. John calling from Birmingham. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul. How are you, man?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Good. Hey, listen, I've been in Birmingham most of my adult life, and I remember in the 90s, your show here locally, I used to listen to it. But I was going to talk about college and the NFL, but first I was going to mention something really funny. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine said, I was listening to Paul Finebaum today, and somebody called and said, hey, Paul, I'm a long-time caller, first-time listener. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I vaguely do. That is pretty funny.
Yeah, I know. It was hilarious.
By the way, maybe it's true based on some of the calls we get.
Right. Well, anyway, so my points were what I was thinking about. I'm sure you know about the rules change, that's coming up in the NFL, at least the committee considering outlawing the tush push. I was going to see what your thoughts on that. My thought on it is I don't like, in any level of football, I don't like gimmicky plays. I like just lining up and just mano a mano, the line of scrimmage. I mean, trick plays are okay and things like that. And then the other thing I was going to mention is college football. There have been rules changes that have moved it closer to what the NFL does in terms of the speed of the game. But I would like to see, and I want to get your opinion on this, I would like to see college football go completely NFL rules adoption. You're not down until you're touched for the runner. 2 feet are required to be in bounds. Things like that. What are your opinions?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I can't. Was it the NFC Championship game that the tush push? I mean, it was just maddening to watch that.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to stop that play.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I did see today where the NFL has agreed to use some sort of computerized analysis on first downs. I'm not sure exactly how to describe the machine, but they're definitely, which to me is an interesting concept. But the sport that's driving me crazy right now, not to change your subject, was watching basketball. They're making the football referees look competent.
Good point. They are. I watch a lot of college basketball too.
Before TV, you could get a game in 90 minutes, and I was watching the Alabama-Kentucky game the other day, and I think the game lasted 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable, especially the last 2 minutes of the game can last 30 minutes.
I do not want to see another official at the scorer's table. I really don't.
Yeah, and Paul, what is a foul in college basketball now? It's hard to tell.
Listen, I officiated women's basketball in high school to try to earn $5. So that my knowledge is only that, okay, and it's not very good. A foul is whatever you feel like blowing the whistle.
That's what I'm thinking. Well, what are your thoughts? And then I'll hang up on college football adopting more NFL rules.
I think it's a good idea. I know that it's supposed to be safety first, but I think a uniform rule would be a better idea than where we are right now.
Yeah, I agree, especially the runner not being – I mean, this is football. This is a brutal sport. But, I fell down and my knee touched the ground, so whoops, I'm down. No, it just seems lame to me.
You're dead right. John, it's really great to hear from you. Let's talk again soon. Thank you very, very much. Bash in Boulder on the Zoom.
What up, Bash Brother Paul?
Bash.
Is Randy in the studio?
Randy,
my man. Well, Paul, last night the tide just kept rolling from this weekend after we beat Kentucky and kept that momentum and laid a waste to the Mississippi State Bulldogs and reminded that lucky little leprechaun, Josh Hubbard's pot of gold ran out last night, Paul. But before I get to the next thing I want to talk about, I have to admit, today is a special edition, Paul, because a few months ago, I was in Alabama visiting my family, and now my brother, he's come to Boulder to visit me. And I just want to say this message loud and clear to him and to every Auburn fan that exists going forward this year after November. Paul, I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to FaceTime my brother every single day that I don't see him in person. And the only thing he's going to see after this November, Paul, is 6 fingers. Because he did the same thing to me, Paul, when I was a teenager. And now, just like everything in life, Paul, everything comes back around. And speaking of that, Paul, I hear a lot of people are talking about Jim today. Paul.
Yeah, no, I cannot leave during the show, even if I want to.
I know, my bad. So, as you know, I was the last one in contact with him before he officially quit the show, and he was trying to use me as his literal puppet. Like, Bash, say this for me, say that for me. And then I literally went on the show and told the audience I can't say the things that he literally said because he cusses so much, Paul. And it was like, for me, just entertaining at the time. But after these last 2 weeks and just seeing how much more pathetic he's gotten, Paul, and how much more the entire nation of the Finebaum Nation has united against one person. And the only person that defended him earlier on the show basically called him the devil. Is he the devil, do you think, Paul?
I don't think he is. I am going to agree with the masses today, Bash. I think he has reached that critical mass point where it's no longer even entertaining or fun or even clever to make fun of him because it's so easy. It's low-hanging fruit. I think it's become sad and pathetic, and his call today was indicative of that. I really think ultimately we should try. I don't mean turn this into the Joel Osteen revival, but I think we should probably try to help the guy out because I think he's seriously challenged right now and going through a very dark period.